Good morning, good humans. This is pretty much the first time I reckon I've worn my suit in about 6 months. The reason I'm wearing a suit today is normally I'm standing in theatre with the surgeon, but today I've got to run around and do a few errands at work, got to pick a few things up and see a few other customers. So today is suit day, which is I don't like wearing suits. It's just weird. This whole tie thing is just a weird concept, and the fact that we think professionalism, this represents professional, I don't understand it. Anyway, it is what it is. Oh, all right, nearly 8 hours later. I am done and dusted. It's, what is it, 5 p.m.-ish, 5:15. All right, you cracking humans, just got home from work, got into civvies. Man, it was good to get out of that suit. But I'm just going to do some work on my bike now, my mountain bike. As we're coming into winter here in Melbourne, I'm going to start doing more of the mountain bike stuff, and I got some crew that do quite a bit of mountain biking, and they know some awesome trails. Anthony took me mountain biking last weekend. You know, might even start doing some cyclocross. So I've got a cyclocross bike here. So yeah, just going to do some work on the bike. Yeah. So it's crazy windy out here at the moment, but I'm just going to turn the handlebar system upside down, just flip the stem and slam it, because I feel as though I'm too high at the moment. So you can see this section through here, you can actually flip this over the other way, and it'll be, rather than coming up, it'll be sort of down a bit. Alright, I've slammed the stem right down to its lowest point, and done a few little tweaks on the bike, put some higher pressures in the shocks and things like that. So I'm just going to take it for a test ride now. I've just realised something. I've actually got to put air in the other side of the shocks. Alright, the bike seems to be working pretty well now. Alright, so the mountain bike is washed. I think I'm actually going to go mountain biking with Sam Davis on Sunday. We're going to go to Red Hill downhill track. So that should be fun. I've never actually been there, so that'll be a completely new experience. I just wanted to show you guys, I actually did a Skype interview with a good sir called Tom Barry. He's a really nice guy. He's an osteopath in Albury, and he specialises in injury management for cyclists and bike fitting and stuff like that, and they use that Retool program, which is what I've recently got a bike fit on. So he's very experienced, done lots and lots of bike fits. So this is the interview. We just had a brief Skype chat. So if you ever had any questions about bike fitting and just injury management for cycling, here's your man, and hopefully he can answer some questions in this little brief interview we had the other day, last week, a couple of weeks ago. Here he is. So g'day Tom, thanks for joining us, mate.
No worries, Mark.
So mate, just give us a quick rundown. We've obviously chatted a fair bit, but you are an osteo, and
Yep.
and I get a lot of questions on the vlog about bike fitting and stuff. So you're telling me that you do quite a few bike fits.
Yes. So an osteopath, so with an anatomy and physiology degree as well. So this was right up my alley. And yeah, for the last 5 or 6 years, we've been doing pretty solidly bike fitting up in Albury. Trying to make sure that we can treat people's injuries appropriately. And the first thing to do that is to try and remove kind of irritation of their body. So that's why we have to look at them on the bike as well.
Yeah, right. So how many bike fits would you say you've done in the last, I don't know, how long you've been doing it? 6 years, 7 years?
Yeah, 6 or 7 years. So 2 full-time a week, 2 days a week, I should say, 2 to 3 bike fits a day, thousands.
Really?
Yep.
That's a lot of bike fits, dude. That's
Someone
a
will
lot of
probably
bike fits.
come up and they'll work out the maths on that and say that it's only 800, but it feels like a lot and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome. So, what would you say? I mean, a lot of people ask me, should I get a bike fit done? And I'm like, and they're like, oh, it's $300-400. I'm like, dude, spend the money. It's probably the best thing you'll ever do. You know, what do you think? I mean, obviously, it's part of your business, but why would someone get a bike fit done?
Yeah, in terms of cost, it's a drop in the ocean. So people are spending 2-3 grand on wheels, $100 on a pair of tires, or if you more. So $350 for a bit of comfort, and injury prevention is enormous. Nothing is guaranteed to make your cycling less enjoyable than not being comfortable. So it's obviously I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
The results would indicate that it probably is. There's a reason why elite guys get them done all the time. The body changes, things change. It can make all the difference between enjoying your riding and not.
Yeah, yeah. And I suppose, for the novice cyclist, one of the hardest things is, or we know, setting up cleats, setting up seat height. Do I put my seat forward, backwards? I mean, in a nutshell, out of all of the bike fits you've done, what have people done? Do they push their cleats all the way back? Do they push it forward? Do they push their seat all the way back, forward, in the middle? What are they doing here?
Classically, what we see, and again, this is a generalisation, cleats are normally a fraction too far forward. Saddles might be a fraction low. And the big one that we see almost all the time is people are trying to get too low and too long. So they're trying to look like the pros. But what they don't probably understand is that the pros spend a lot of time working very hard to get to that position and to be comfortable and sustainable in it. There's no point having a really aero position, a really long, low position if you can't sustain the posture. And there's a metabolic cost to everything. So the longer you are and the lower you are, the harder the position is to hold. And when we talk about metabolic cost, it means that there's energy being consumed within muscles that probably aren't really helping you generate power. So therefore, basically, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah, right. And it's funny because with time trialists, I suppose the position's going to be completely different to someone on a road bike, because in a time trial position, you're further forward. You're obviously using maybe your hamstrings and your buttocks more. Explain that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing too with time trialing, and this is where it gets a little bit specific. Time trialing versus road riding is clearly a very different position. The entire reason you're on a time trial bike is to go as fast as you possibly can for the distance that's prescribed. And that's classically quite short. And obviously you get very aggressive. The speeds are so much greater. You need to be looking at overcoming drag with almost every choice that you make, both with position and equipment. And the position really only needs to be sustainable for the length of that event. So for most people, it's kind of your classic 10 mile or 20K time trial. Like that's really only 20 to 25 minutes effort. That's not a long time to hold an uncomfortable position. And we're not actually that fussed about people being a bit uncomfortable in a time trial position, because they don't have to get off and run at the end. All they have to do is get to the finish line and get off. And as long as we can minimise drag and maximise power output for that length of time, then we're pretty happy with that. Whereas with triathlon, completely different setup. It's they've got to get off and run for a start. They've got to be comfortable. They're doing it for much longer, up to 4, 5, 6 hours. So it's a very, very different position, triathlon, the time trialing. Huge difference.
Yeah. You were saying that the cleat position in a triathlon, a lot of the triathletes are putting their cleats further back to save their calves, so that they're not utilising their calves during the cycle, so that they can run. And that's genius. I love that idea.
Well, it's a basic physics equation a bit. Like the further forward the cleat is, the more you've got to stabilise your foot on the cleat. And the muscles that are doing the stabilisation are typically in the calf, and to a lesser extent the intrinsic muscles of the foot. If you can shut them, because they're not really generating much in terms of power, particularly at the power levels that these guys are doing their half Ironman splits in, and there's not too many guys pushing over 300 watts for that length of time. And as a result, the calf doesn't really contribute a whole lot to force production when you're doing that. In a flat-out sprint, it's a different kettle of fish. If you're a track cyclist, absolutely, you want to be ripping every last ounce of energy out of yourself you possibly can. So, get the calves up and going by all means, but certainly not with those guys.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great, mate. So if people wanted to get in touch with you, you were saying that you're in Albury. How can they get in touch with you? You're obviously in Albury. What's the name of the business?
Osteo Health is our business.
Yeah.
Website is osteohealth.net.au.
Yeah.
Always happy to answer inquiries, depending on how many there are. It's a good business. We've got osteos, physios here. We've got people who analyse movement for a living, so that always makes things run a bit smoother. We do a good job, and we've got great people. Very proud and happy with our crew and our business.
Yeah. All right. Cool. And you were saying there's a fair bit of there's some good riding in Albury.
Albury's sensational.
Yeah.
Highly underrated. So we've had some absolute belters come out of here too in terms of cyclists. So Reece Pollock, who won Warney a few years ago, used to ride for Drapac. Neil Vanderploeg is a good friend of ours and lives and works in the area, who's just recently came third in the Nationals last year. Taryn Heather, who's a medalist at the Nationals. Flick Wardlaw. Matt Clark from Beechworth. There's heaps of them. And there's a bloke, Jesse Featonby, who is an ex-ITU triathlete who is going to give the NRS a hell of a run this year. So he'll be interesting to watch.
Oh, that's good. Thanks for the inside scoop, mate.
Oh, yeah. Get your money on him.
All right. I appreciate that, mate. Well, thanks for your time.
No worries.
We'll chat soon.
Good on you. Thanks, Mark.
Bang with me, yeah. And you know I'm from a gang with me. Okay, make a trip, I got my thing.